Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L and I'm doing the My Hero Academia chapter 123, my chapter impressions and thoughts. First, I want to apologize. This week has been very rough and I just had to make sacrifices. I have not been on YouTube for the last 4 days, I think. Anyway, let's just get right into the video. You guys might want to hear my opinion, that's why you're watching this. So, this chapter, if I was to give it one word, it would be obnoxious. It's so obnoxious. We got introduced to the 3 new characters, Amajiki, Hado, and the Togata guy, the guy that we met in the last chapter, and it's just, man, they are obnoxious as all heck. The one that I like the most of this grouping is Amajiki, and the one I dislike the most is probably Hado. Man, just so obnoxious, and this girl has no concept of boundaries, and it's just, I get it, they're quirky, and like, what's worse is that they're legitimately at the top, and it's just, oh man. I don't know why I feel so annoyed of these characters. I think they're just too much. I think the personalities are just too loud. But anyway, let's get into the chapter. Let's talk about it very quickly. I do think it's an interesting chapter. It sets things up, but I feel like it's shaky because at the end of the chapter we see the display of strength from Togata, and you know what? That's impressive. Mind you, he's moving very quickly. Like, this guy he doesn't teleport. I'm pretty sure he goes into the ground and he comes back up in another spot, but he does everything in 4 seconds. Like, he manhandled people in 4 seconds. And what's worse, in 0.01 of a second, he goes in and he takes on Jiro, and he just finishes that up very quickly. I don't know, man. I think that is the author wanting to make it seem that impressive, but in half of a second, he manhandles about 8 students. Can someone even move that fast? Is that even possible, of moving that fast? And you know, I think if you were to apply the science to it, things would look very sketchy. But anyway, I get it. It's just to make it seem like, yeah, this guy's pretty freaking fast. I just think it's just too exaggerated. I think that's the big issue with these characters. They're super exaggerated. Like, even Amajiki, his quirk, or his personality quirk, is like being super shy and, you know, I guess getting stage fright. And he makes it entertaining. But at least when it comes to his rationale, he's still being relatively normal compared to Hado and Togata is actually relatively normal. His exaggeration comes in with his power. But anyway, no, I'm getting fired up here. He manhandles the amount of students in about 5 seconds, which was interesting in its own way, I suppose. I think one of the biggest things is that Jiro's stuff is being used to tie up her and Denki. Actually, you know what? It still is very exaggerated, because Eraserhead says something that I find just weird. He says that this guy is the very closest man to becoming #1, and that includes the pro heroes. And I don't think that's, no. We know that charisma plays a big part. We know that accomplishments play a big part into being #1. So I think that Eraserhead is saying something else when he says the very closest man to becoming #1. I don't understand that. We know that this guy was, after being scouted, he devoted himself to internship under a certain hero. The hero right now that we could probably make guesses of is maybe he was under All Might's agency, but we really don't know. Also, before I continue, in design, like, this guy has similarities to All Might's design with the way he's drawn. So I do like that kind of parallel that the author made in terms of the art style. And speaking of the art on Togata, let's just all take a moment to appreciate the guy's rock hard abs. Like, that is impressive. That's, wow. Anyway, not the point. Eraserhead says that comment about him being the closest to #1. I really want to think that's just him firing up the students, because it doesn't make sense. That's a very big exaggeration, I think, because we haven't heard about him. Even Deku hasn't heard about him, and Deku's the fanboy. He only knows about a guy that made an impression on him in the last year's sports games, and he hasn't heard anything about him. If this is the guy that's closest to becoming #1, in what sense? Where's his accomplishments? Why isn't Deku aware that this guy is super awesome? Why do people not talk about this guy? Why do people still talk about Endeavor? That's very weird. The whole thing about closest to becoming #1. are his accomplishments that low-key that no one knows about it? Or is it more like this guy studied under All Might, that's why he's closest to being number one? It's going to be very interesting to see where Eraserhead actually goes through with that line of thought. And another thing, I like Eraserhead here. I like that he called those kids out for like lacking any sort of rationality. Good. You know, they were just so weird, man. Their personalities definitely left a big impression on me. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see Togatha go down, but he just manhandled everyone. And what's interesting is that Amajiki did say that his quirk isn't all that special, it's just his technique, and I will respect that. Taking down all those students with just really good use of your quirk is probably, yeah, it's worth like being impressive. So he's really one of those people that uses technique over quirk, and he's more integrated his quirk into his battle style. It's actually very interesting to see how quickly he can like phase through things. One thing I did find interesting, and I saw this in one of the comments when I was reading the chapter, was that people were saying that maybe his quirk activates by him holding his breath, because whenever he phases, you kind of see that his cheeks are slightly inflated and he has his mouth closed. It'd be interesting in that if that's how it works. But we also saw him phase through a wall and talk while he's in a wall. So yeah, his quirks can be interesting, but it does seem that it's just general phasing. There must be some big weaknesses to it, because he's making up for whatever those weaknesses are by just the impressive display of muscle and technique. It's the technique that we really have to be looking at for this character. But yeah, guys, anyway, this chapter introduced the idea of the internships, and it just set up for a display of power. It really went into the battle display. I actually find it funny that a lot of these school things ultimately end in fights, like to just show a point, which is just, you know, it's shonen. It's something of shonen, but like this chapter just felt too much for me. Regardless, I'll say, you know, I liked it. I liked the chapter. I think I'm just a bit too annoyed about the characters that were introduced. I just find Hado so annoying. Like, man, she's just annoying. I know that she has like a cute character design, but still, man, I think she's annoying. Anyway, they'll probably grow on me, but let me know what you thought of the characters. Let me know what you think of the whole number one thing. And yeah, let me know what you think's gonna happen from here out. Now, do you think our remaining guys will be actually able to take him on? We got Deku, Ida, and Kirishima in there, so maybe. Anyway, guys, let's end it there. Till next time, I hope you have a great day.